The Whispering. A fantasy sleep story, presented by Bedtime Stories. Make yourself comfortable, close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath. And now, let the story begin. Elara lived in a world woven from whispers and starlight, a place where the very air hummed with ancient secrets. Her home was the Vale of Everglen, a secluded basin cradled between the towering, moss-draped slopes of the Whisperwind Peaks and the shimmering emerald expanse of the Shimmerwood Forest. It was a place where dawn painted the sky in hues of rose and pearl, and dusk settled like a velvet cloak embroidered with fireflies. The houses in Everglen were carved from the pale smooth stone of the mountainside, and roofed with overlapping leaves from the giant everbloom trees, leaves that shimmered with a faint internal light after sunset. Pathways were not paved, but trodden earth, softened by generations of bare feet, and lined with luminous fungal blooms that pulsed gently, guiding villagers home through the soft, perpetual twilight that lingered even at midday beneath the canopy. The scent of Everglen was unique, a blend of damp earth, sweet night jasmine, and something else, something indefinable, the clean, crisp smell of pure magic, like ozone after a summer storm, but gentler, more profound. Elara was a child of Everglen, barely 10 summers old, with eyes the color of moss after a rain, and hair like spun moonlight that often escaped the braids her Nana Lyra tried to keep neat. She wasn't boisterous like some of the other children, who chased the iridescent dragonflies by the glimmering falls, or played hide-and-seek among the giant ferns. Elara preferred quiet observation, her small frame often perched on a smooth riverstone, watching the water spirits dance in the currents of the sunken river, or lying on her back in a clearing, tracing the slow, deliberate paths of the stardust motes that drifted down from the canopy. From a very young age, Elara had a peculiar sensitivity. She didn't just see the light or smell the magic. She felt it, like a gentle pressure behind her ears, a faint tingling on her skin. And sometimes, very rarely, she heard it. A sound that was not wind, nor water, nor animal cry, but something else entirely. It was a soft, undulating hum, like a distant, forgotten melody played on an instrument no longer known. The elders called it the Whispering. Most dismissed it as the wind sighing through the Whisperwind Peaks, or the rustle of leaves in the Shimmerwood. But Elara knew better. "It's not the wind, Nana," she'd insist, her brow furrowed in concentration as she tried to articulate the elusive sound. "It's more like a song, but without words, like the world is dreaming aloud." Nana Lyra, with her kind eyes and hands gnarled like ancient roots, would simply smile, patting Elara's head. "Perhaps, little moonbeam. The world has many dreams. Some say only those with truly open hearts can hear them." Nana Lyra never confirmed she heard it herself, but her eyes held a knowing glint, a wisdom that suggested she understood more than she let on. She would tell tales of the Whispering, not as a sound, but as an ancient consciousness, the very breath of the land itself. She spoke of its ebb and flow, its periods of silence and rare moments of awakening. "When the Whispering truly calls," Nana Lyra had once murmured, her voice soft as falling snow, "it speaks of change. And change, my dear, is a powerful thing." Elara spent countless hours trying to decipher the Whispering. In the quietest moments, when the village slept and the twin moons, Lumina and Nocturne, cast their silver and shadow over Everglen, she would slip out to her favorite spot, a gnarled ancient oak on the edge of the Shimmerwood, its lowest branches sweeping the ground like a giant's beard. Here the air was thicker with the scent of pine and damp earth, and the sounds of the forest were sharper, more immediate. The distant hum of the Whispering was always present, a faint, almost subliminal thrum beneath the chirps of the nocturnal insects and the rustle of unseen creatures. It was a comfort, a secret friend, a constant reminder that the world held more magic than most people acknowledged. As Elara grew, so did her connection to the subtle magic of Everglen. She found that if she listened intently enough, the plants around her seemed to communicate, not in words, but in vibrations, in shifts of color, in the way their leaves unfurled. She could intuit where the juiciest moonberries grew or which root would soothe a fever. The animals, too, seemed to accept her presence without fear. A shy forest sprite might peek from behind a toadstool, or a Lumina hare would linger instead of bounding away. One particular evening, as the first hints of autumn crisped the air, and the everbloom leaves began to shift from vibrant emerald to shimmering gold, Elara noticed a change. The whispering was no longer a distant hum. It was closer, clearer, like a melody rising from beneath the earth. It had a new urgency, a shimmering quality that made the air itself seem to vibrate. She was helping Nana Lyra prepare the evening meal, crushing sun-petal herbs for a soothing tea, when she first truly felt it. A wave of sound, soft but undeniable, washed over her. It was a cascade of tiny, crystalline chimes, interwoven with a deep, resonant thrum that vibrated in her bones. The air in their small cottage seemed to thicken, and the dim glow of the everbloom lanterns intensified, their light swirling with faint, iridescent motes. "Nana," Elara breathed, dropping the pestle. "Do you hear that?" Nana Lyra paused, her hand still over a bubbling stewpot. She listened, her head tilted, her eyes wide with an ancient knowing. "The wind is high tonight, little one," she said, but her voice was strained, her gaze fixed on something beyond the cottage walls. Elara knew it wasn't just the wind. Outside, the entire vale of Everglen seemed to be responding. The everbloom trees pulsed with an almost blinding light, their golden leaves shivering even in the still air. The sunken river, usually a gentle murmur, now sang with 1,000 tiny bell-like notes. Animals that usually slept through the night were stirring. The Lumina hares huddled together, their ears twitching, and the usually placid forest sprites danced in agitated swirls of light outside the window. A faint, sweet aroma, like 1,000 blossoms opening at once, filled the air, mingling with the familiar scent of Everglen magic. This wasn't just Why whispering, it was Gwythy whispering, awakened. That night, Elara couldn't sleep. She lay on her moss bed, listening. The sounds outside were a symphony of wonder and subtle apprehension. The whispering was now a continuous, weaving melody, layered with deeper tones she had never perceived before. It felt like a story being told, a vast, complex narrative unfolding in pure sound. It was both beautiful and unsettling, a call to something profound and unknown. She slipped from her bed, pulling on her softest woven tunic and trousers. She glanced at Nana Lyra, who lay quietly, her eyes closed, but her breathing shallow and quick. Elara knew her grandmother was aware, perhaps even hearing it in her own way, but was choosing to remain still, allowing the magic to wash over her. Elara felt a different pull, an undeniable magnetic force drawing her towards the source of the sound. She tiptoed out of the cottage, her bare feet silent on the cool, damp earth path. The village was awash in the golden-green glow of the everbloom trees, which now pulsed in rhythm with the whispering. The luminous fungal blooms along the path flared brightly as she passed, as if acknowledging her journey. The air felt charged, thick with possibility. The whispering was strongest towards the Shimmerwood forest. Elara followed its pull, past the last houses, past the village square where the ancient moonstone stood, shimmering with a soft internal light. The path grew less defined, merging with the edge of the forest. The Shimmerwood was always a place of wonder, even on an ordinary day. Its trees were ancient, their bark a mosaic of greens and grays, often covered in glowing mosses that dripped like emerald tears. Strange, luminous flowers unfurled in its deepest glades, their petals unfurling to reveal inner lights that pulsed with soft colors. But tonight, the Shimmerwood was alive in a way Elara had never seen. The trees themselves seemed to hum, their branches swaying in an unseen breeze, their leaves rustling with what sounded like tiny, whispered words. The glowing mosses pulsed with an almost frantic energy, creating shifting patterns of light and shadow on the forest floor. Moon moths, their wings dusted with actual starlight, spiraled in dizzying dances, leaving trails of faint luminescence in their wake. Small, shy creatures, iridescent beetles, quick-footed glow squirrels, and even the rarely seen whisper owls, moved about openly, their eyes wide, their movements quick and restless, all seemingly drawn by the same pervasive melody. The whispering guided Elara deeper. It was a complex tapestry of sound, the deep thrum of the earth, the high, clear notes of unseen streams, the gentle rustle that was almost like a breath, and a soaring, lyrical melody that seemed to come from the very heart of the forest. It filled her mind, her body, dissolving the boundaries between herself and the ancient woods. She felt no fear, only a profound sense of awe and a burgeoning curiosity. She walked for what felt like hours, though time seemed to lose all meaning in the heightened magic of the Shimmerwood. The path, at first clear, soon dissolved into a tangle of roots and luminous undergrowth. But Ilara didn't need a path. The whispering was her compass, pulling her ever onwards, ever deeper. She passed through groves where trees leaned together, forming living arches adorned with hanging vines that glowed like strings of pearls. She stepped over streams whose waters shimmered with liquid light, reflecting the twin moons above as if they held miniature skies within their depths. The air grew warmer, sweeter, saturated with the scent of unknown blossoms, and something else, something ancient and powerful, like petrified lightning. Finally, the trees began to thin, giving way to a clearing. But this was no ordinary clearing. It was a vast, circular space, bathed in an ethereal, golden light that seemed to emanate from the very heart of the ground. In the center of this clearing stood a tree unlike any Ilara had ever seen. It was colossal, dwarfing even the oldest everbloom trees in the vale. Its trunk was wider than a dozen cottages, its bark a swirling tapestry of deep greens, grays and shimmering bronze, etched with patterns that looked uncannily like ancient runes, glowing faintly from within. Its branches, thick as lesser trees, reached skyward, forming a canopy that seemed to touch the very stars, each leaf a tiny, living lantern. This was the heartwood tree, the legendary core of the shimmerwood, a place spoken of only in hushed tones by the elders, a place few had ever truly seen. Ilara felt a gasp catch in her throat, but no sound escaped. All she could do was stare, utterly captivated. The whispering here was overwhelming. It wasn't a sound she heard with her ears, but a vibration that resonated through every cell of her being. It was a symphony of creation, of growth, of ancient memory. It was the song of the world, truly awake. As Ilara took a hesitant step forward, a ripple of golden light flowed across the heartwood tree's bark, and the glowing runes intensified, swirling and reforming like liquid fire. A deep, resonant hum emanated from its roots, a sound that vibrated through the earth and up into Ilara's feet, connecting her to the very core of the world. Then, from the deepest part of the tree, from its very heartwood, a single, clear note rang out. It was a note of pure, crystalline sound, so clear and sweet it brought tears to Ilara's eyes. And as it faded, it was replaced by a gentle, soft pulse, like a heartbeat that felt utterly familiar, utterly profound. Ilara felt an invisible hand reach out, not to touch, but to eye-pull. A gentle, insistent tug, not towards the surface of the tree, but deeper, towards something hidden within its roots, beneath the glowing earth of the clearing. It was a call, unmistakable and utterly compelling. The whispering had found its voice, and it was calling to her. The whispering had found its voice, and it was calling to her. Ilara didn't hesitate. The pull was too gentle to resist, too profound to ignore. It wasn't a command, but an invitation, whispered not into her ears, but directly into the core of her being. She took a step, then another, moving away from the smooth bark of the great tree, not towards the vibrant moon-kissed clearing, but towards the very ground beneath her feet. The earth, which had glowed with such a captivating luminescence moments before, seemed to part for her. It wasn't a physical parting, no cracking or shifting soil, but rather a soft dissolution, as if the ground itself became a shimmering, permeable membrane. Her foot, clad in its simple leather slipper, sank not into mud or dust, but into a swirling vortex of emerald light, cool and silken against her skin. A breath caught in her throat, not from fear, but from sheer wonder. The air around her shifted, growing warmer, imbued with a faint, sweet scent of damp earth and blooming night jasmine. She stepped fully into the emerald light, and the world above, the clearing with its radiant grass and star-dusted canopy, seemed to ripple and fade behind her, replaced by a gentle, enveloping twilight. She was descending. It wasn't a free fall, nor a strenuous climb down. It was more akin to floating, a slow, effortless drift through a dreamlike space. The emerald light that had welcomed her now pulsed around her, revealing a world hidden beneath the surface. She was no longer beneath the earth, but within it, surrounded by an intricate tapestry of roots. These were not the rough, gnarled roots she knew from the forest floor. These were luminous tendrils, some as thick as her arm, others as fine as spun silk, all aglow with an inner vitality. They pulsed with soft, multi-hued lights, amber, sapphire, amethyst, and that ever-present, vibrant emerald. They intertwined, creating intricate archways and swirling tunnels, forming a living cathedral of light beneath the world. Each root hummed with a low, resonant frequency, a collective song that vibrated through Alara's bones, harmonizing with the familiar heartbeat that now beat stronger, clearer, closer. The air grew thicker, sweeter, carrying not just the scent of jasmine, but also hints of ancient moss, fresh rain, and something else, something profoundly vital and alive, like the essence of growth itself. She reached out a hand, and a thin sapphire root, no thicker than her finger, gently brushed against her fingertips. It felt smooth, warm, and pulsed faintly beneath her touch, sending a tiny jolt of pure energy up her arm, a sensation that made her smile. As she drifted deeper, the tunnels widened, forming vast, cavernous spaces carved by the roots themselves. Here the light was not just from the roots, but seemed to emanate from the very air, a soft, diffuse glow that cast no shadows. Crystal formations, like giant geodes, studded the walls, catching the light and refracting it into a million shimmering facets, creating dazzling rainbows that danced and swirled as she passed. Pools of liquid light, still and serene, gathered in depressions, reflecting the root-lit ceiling like inverted starry skies. Some pools were a deep, calming indigo, others a vibrant, shimmering gold, each holding a faint, swirling mist just above its surface. Alara felt no fear, only an escalating sense of wonder and belonging. This wasn't a dark, hidden place, but a sanctuary, a living heart beating beneath the world. The insistent tug was now a warm embrace, guiding her through the labyrinthine passages, always deeper, always towards the source of that profound pulse. Finally, the gentle descent slowed, then ceased. She hovered for a moment, in a vast, circular chamber. Here, the roots were thicker, older, radiating an ancient power that made the air thrum with energy. They formed a colossal, living dome, their intertwined forms creating an intricate organic ceiling that glowed with a unified, soft golden light. The walls of the chamber were not rock or earth, but seemed to be composed of countless layers of compressed crystalline root matter, shimmering with all the colors she had seen, yet blended into a single breathtaking canvas. In the very center of this magnificent chamber, nestled within a cradle of thick, luminous roots, lay the source of the heartbeat. It was not a creature, nor a simple stone. It was a sphere, larger than Alara herself, composed of what appeared to be pure, solidified light. Its surface pulsed with a gentle rhythmic glow, expanding and contracting with the steady, profound beat that now filled the entire chamber, resonating within her chest. The light emanating from the sphere was not harsh, but exquisitely soft, a warm, pearlescent white, tinged with faint, swirling eddies of emerald and gold. It was alive, undeniably so. From its surface, countless delicate tendrils of light, like silken threads, reached out to connect with the surrounding roots, infusing them with its vitality. It was the heart of the great tree, yes, but also something more, something far grander. It was a nucleus, a nexus, a wellspring of profound energy. As Alara floated gently downwards, her feet finally settling onto a smooth, polished floor of what felt like cool, living crystal, the sphere's pulse seemed to quicken, a silent, joyful welcome. The whispering which had guided her here now flowed from the sphere itself, a silent symphony of pure thought and feeling, washing over her. It wasn't words in any language she knew, but a direct communion, a stream of images, sensations, and ancient memories that unfolded within her mind. She saw visions, the slow, magnificent growth of the great tree over millennia, its roots delving deeper and deeper into the earth, drawing sustenance from hidden magical currents. She saw the sphere, which the whispering called the lumen cordis, the heart of light, at the very beginning, a tiny spark of pure magic, planted by beings of immense wisdom in a time before memory. The lumen cordi was not merely the heart of Eithistry, but a nexus point for the world's living magic. It absorbed, purified, and redistributed the essence of life and magic throughout the land, nurturing forests, feeding rivers, and even influencing the very breath of the wind. Its subtle song had once been heard by all living things, a constant lullaby of growth and renewal. But then, the visions shifted. Shadows began to creep into the luminous landscapes. A slow fading, a dimming of the world's vibrancy. The lumen cordis, once vibrant and strong, began to weaken, not from internal decay, but from a growing disharmony in the world above. A disharmony caused by the growing forgetfulness of people, the subtle turning away from the natural world, the rise of powers that sought to dominate rather than harmonize. The lumen cordis, in its wisdom, chose to withdraw, to slumber, to protect its core essence from the encroaching imbalance. Its pulse grew faint, its whispers almost silent, heard only by the most attuned and innocent of souls. We waited. The whispering communicated directly into her mind, a symphony of gentle knowing. We waited for a heart pure enough, a spirit open enough, to hear us when we stirred, to reawaken the song. Elara felt a profound sense of awe, and a small, almost overwhelming flutter of fear. Why me? She thought, her own thoughts feeling small and reedy against the vastness of the lumen cordis's presence. The answer flowed back, clear and resonant. Because you listened. Because you did not seek to take, but to understand. Because your heart resonates with the song of the world, even when it is faint. You are a bridge, little one, between the deep magic and the waking world. As the lumen cordis communicated, its pearlescent light pulsed more intensely, and the tendrils of light connecting it to the roots seemed to shimmer with renewed vigor. Elara felt a gentle pull, irresistible and tender, drawing her closer to the immense sphere. She reached out, her hand trembling slightly, and placed her palm against its smooth, cool surface. The moment her skin touched the lumen cordis, a wave of pure, unadulterated energy surged through her. It wasn't a shock or a jolt, but a gentle liquid warmth that spread through every cell of her body, awakening dormant senses, unfurling hidden pathways within her mind. It felt like coming home, like remembering a part of herself she had forgotten she possessed. Her vision sharpened, not just seeing more clearly, but seeing deeper. The luminous roots around her now throbbed with individual currents of magic, each one a different hue, a different song. She could feel the slow, steady draw of water from deep underground, the silent communication between fungal networks beneath the crystal floor, the distant murmur of the Earth's molten core, all flowing into and out of the lumen cordis. Her hearing expanded. Beyond the heartbeat, she could now discern a myriad of soft ethereal sounds, the faint hum of growing plants kilometers away, the gentle rustle of leaves in the clearing above, the distant whisper of a forest stream. It was as if the world had suddenly unfolded itself, revealing its hidden orchestra. And then, the whispering intensified, not just as communication, but as a direct transfer of being. She felt the vast, ancient patience of the lumen cordis, its deep love for the world, its sorrow for the fading magic, and its burgeoning hope now that it had found her. She understood that the faint pulse she had felt in the clearing was merely its first tentative reach, a test, a call for a kindred spirit. And she had answered. A profound sense of peace settled over her, deeper than any she had ever known. She was not just Elara, the girl who loved stories and listened to the forest. She was now connected, irrevocably, to something ancient and magnificent, a living conduit for the world's magic. As she absorbed the essence of the lumen cordis, faint, swirling patterns of light began to appear on her skin, tracing delicate, glowing lines along her arms and neck, mirroring the root patterns of the chamber. They pulsed softly, in harmony with the great heart before her, then slowly faded, leaving behind only a faint, warm tingle. It was a mark, not visible to all, but a deep, energetic signature that now identified her. The whispering then imparted a final, profound understanding. The world above needs to remember its song. The threads of magic are frayed, the harmony broken. You have heard the first note. Now, you must help us weave the melody anew. It wasn't a burden, but a purpose, clear as the crystal pools around them. Elara felt a surge of quiet determination. She didn't know how she was to do this, what weaving the melody anew truly meant, or what challenges lay ahead. But she knew, with an absolute certainty that resonated from her very core, that she wanted. The connection with the lumen cordis began to gently recede, not breaking but settling into a continuous subtle hum within her. The vivid visions softened. The overwhelming sensations became a constant, gentle awareness. The light patterns on her skin faded completely, but the warmth, the knowledge, the profound sense of belonging remained. She slowly drew her hand away from the lumen cordis, a lingering warmth pulsing in her palm. The great sphere continued its steady rhythmic beat, its pearlescent light a beacon of ancient power. Elara looked around the magnificent chamber, seeing it now not just with her eyes, but with a deeper understanding of its purpose, its history, its living presence. A gentle current of air, carrying the faint scent of night jasmine and starlight, stirred the air around her. It was an invitation, a soft summons, guiding her back towards the shimmering emerald tunnel from which she had come. The journey back was just as effortless, just as wondrous. She drifted upwards, through the glowing root tunnels and crystal caverns, carrying within her not just memories, but a transformation. When she finally emerged back into the moon-dusted clearing, stepping out of the shimmering earth as if it were a soft curtain, the great tree stood before her, its canopy rustling gently in the night breeze. The grass still glowed, the stars still glittered, but everything felt different. Or rather, Aishin felt different. The air hummed with 1,000 tiny voices she hadn't noticed before. The rustle of leaves, the scurry of unseen creatures, the faint, shimmering song of the starlight itself. They were no longer just sounds, but individual threads of a vast interconnected tapestry, each with its own tiny story, its own tiny magic. And she could hear them all. The familiar profound heartbeat of the lumen cordis was still within her, a constant comforting presence. It was a reminder of what she had discovered, what she had become. The whispering was no longer a distant call, but an inner guide, a subtle compass pointing towards a purpose she was only just beginning to grasp. Elara looked up at the great tree, no longer just a beautiful ancient sentinel, but a living gateway to a profound secret world. Her adventure had just begun. The melody of the world was waiting to be rewoven, and she, Elara, the girl who listened, was now ready to learn its song. The melody of the world was waiting to be rewoven, and she, Elara, the girl who listened, was now ready to learn its song. The great tree stood before her, not merely as a giant, but as a living gateway. The whispering, now a clear, resonant hum within her, urged her forward. A sense of profound belonging, mixed with a thrilling anticipation, settled in her heart. She reached out a hesitant hand, her fingers brushing against the rough, ancient bark. It vibrated with a soft, warm energy, like a sleeping giant stirring. Where the massive roots met the earth, a faint, shimmering light pulsed. It wasn't an opening she had ever noticed before, even during her deepest meditations beside its trunk. This was a gateway woven of light and shadow, seamlessly blended into the bark, visible only to eyes guided by the whispering. Taking a deep breath, Elara stepped towards it, the light parting like a curtain of liquid moonlight as she approached. She passed through, not into darkness, but into a world of vibrant, living light. The air inside the great tree was warm and humid, scented with damp earth, sweet sap, and something else, a faint, harmonious vibration that resonated deep in her bones. She stood in a vast, cathedral-like chamber, carved not by hands, but by the very essence of growth. Twisted roots, thick as ancient riverbeds, formed arches overhead, their surfaces glowing with an inner luminescence. Soft, mossy growths, shimmering with tiny, dew-kissed spores, clung to the walls, acting as natural lamps. Above, far, far above, where the trunk continued its climb towards the sky, she could discern veins of what looked like solidified starlight, pulsing with a gentle rhythm. It was breathtaking, a sanctuary of organic wonder. The whispering intensified here, a chorus of interwoven harmonies, each distinct yet part of a greater whole. She could almost see the individual threads of sound, like shimmering ribbons of light, weaving through the air, vibrating off the roots, and even flowing through her own body. In the very heart of this root chamber, where the largest roots converged, stood a figure. It was tall and slender, composed not of flesh and blood, but of interwoven light and ancient, translucent bark. Its form shimmered, like heat haze rising from sun-baked stone, its eyes two pools of liquid amber that held the wisdom of countless centuries. It was neither male nor female, but an essence, radiating profound calm and immense power. "Welcome, Elara," a voice echoed. Not from the figure's mouth, but directly into her mind, soft as a breeze, through leaves, yet clear as a bell. "We have awaited your coming." Elara felt no fear, only a deep reverence. Who are you?" she whispered, her voice feeling small in the vast chamber. "I am Eliana, a weaver of the root. My essence is bound to this great tree, and through it, to the very fabric of the world's song. And you, Elara, are a listener, a seeker, and now a mender." Eliana extended a hand, its fingers like delicate tendrils of light. You hear the whispering not as a distant call, but as the very pulse of life itself. Elara nodded, a sense of rightness flooding her. I want to learn. To learn the song, to help reweave it. Eliana's amber eyes seemed to gleam. Then let us begin. The world's song is the symphony of existence, the underlying harmony that binds all things. Every creature, every stone, every stream, every whisper of wind, every dream, all possess a unique note, a singular thread that contributes to the grand tapestry. When these threads are vibrant and true, the world thrives. When they fray, snap, or... Eliana gestured, and a shimmering intricate pattern of light appeared in the air between them, like a vast three-dimensional loom woven from starlight. This is a simplified projection of the song, as it flows through this very chamber. See the vibrant threads, the gentle hum? Elara looked intently. She could perceive faint lines of energy now, not just hear them. They flowed, intertwined, pulsed with varying intensities. Some were bright and strong, others softer, more ethereal. I see them, she breathed, amazed. Good. Your unique gift is not merely to hear the whispering, but to I perceive the threads that compose it. Most hear only the echo. You are beginning to hear the source. Now, close your eyes, reach out with your inner ear, your inner sight. Feel the threads around you. Don't force, do not seek to control. Simply be with them. Elara closed her eyes, focusing on the internal hum that was the whispering. She extended her awareness, past her skin, past her clothes, into the very air. Slowly, subtly, she began to feel them. Not just the visual representation Eliana had shown, but an actual, tangible sensation. The threads were like silken strands, each vibrating with its own frequency, some warm, some cool, some smooth, some slightly coarse. They brushed against her consciousness, a gentle, cosmic caress. Excellent, Eliana's voice resonated. Now, open your eyes, and focus on this. Eliana pointed a luminous finger towards a small patch of moss on one of the roots. It looked slightly duller than the surrounding moss, its glow a fraction less vibrant. Elara focused. As she did, she perceived it. A single, thin thread of light connected to the moss was frayed. It wasn't broken, but it was thin, almost translucent, struggling to carry its full song. This thread connects the moss to the root's vitality, to the deeper song of the great tree itself, Eliana explained. It is not broken, but weakened. The moss suffers for it. Can you feel its dissonance? Elara concentrated. Yes, a subtle, almost imperceptible disharmony. Like a single instrument in an orchestra, playing slightly flat. It was a faint ache, a whisper of struggle. I feel it, she said, her brow furrowing. Your first lesson, then, is to mend a fraying thread. This requires not force, but resonance. You must hum with the thread, match its original frequency, and gently, with your intention and your spirit, encourage it to mend itself. Place your hand gently upon the moss. Elara knelt, placing her palm carefully on the dull moss. The frayed thread felt weak beneath her touch. She closed her eyes again, focusing on the thread, on its original healthy hum, which she could still faintly perceive in the surrounding vibrant threads. She began to hum, a soft, low note that resonated deep in her chest. She imagined the thread growing stronger, weaving itself back together, pulling vitality from the great tree, from the very air around it. She envisioned it, shimmering, bright, and whole. It was harder than she expected. Her hum faltered. The thread seemed to resist, or perhaps she simply wasn't strong enough. Frustration pricked at her. Patience, little weaver, Eliana's voice encouraged. It is not about strength of will, but purity of intention. Let the whispering guide your hum. Let your heart resonate with the song of the moss, not just your mind. Elara took a deep breath. She let go of the frustration, let go of the need to mend it. Instead, she just listened. She listened to the hum of the vibrant moss nearby, to the strong, steady pulse of the root beneath her hand. She allowed the whispering to flow through her, guiding her voice, shaping her intention. She hummed again, a note that felt less like her own, and more like an echo of the world itself. Slowly, subtly, a change began. The frayed thread beneath her perception began to thicken, to regain its luminescence. A soft warmth spread beneath her palm. The dull moss began to brighten, its tiny spores sparkling with renewed vigor. When she finally opened her eyes, a soft emerald glow pulsed from the patch of moss, now as vibrant and healthy as any around it. The thread connected to it shone with clear, steady light. A wave of profound satisfaction washed over Elara, deeper than any joy she had ever known. She hadn't just changed something, she had helped Egg restore something. She felt a surge of energy, not just in her own body, but in the entire chamber, as if the great tree itself approved. "You have taken your first step, Elara," Eliana said, a hint of something akin to a smile in its luminous eyes. "You have learned to listen, to perceive, and to mend. But this is just one small thread in a tapestry of infinite complexity." Eliana turned, its form shimmering, and began to glide deeper into the great tree. "Come, there is much more to see, and much more to learn. The heart of the great tree is not just a sanctuary, but a living loom, where the threads of the world's song are spun, woven, and maintained." Elara followed, her heart pounding with excitement and wonder. They moved through narrow passages where roots intertwined like living braids, their surfaces polished smooth by unseen forces. Each turn revealed new wonders: chambers where bioluminescent fungi pulsed with rhythmic light, grottos where underground springs trickled, their waters glowing with soft internal radiance, and alcoves where clusters of crystalline formations hummed with unique, intricate melodies. They arrived in a chamber of breathtaking scale, far grander than the root chamber. Here, the very air seemed to shimmer with an indescribable energy. It was a vast, circular space, its ceiling so high it vanished into a soft, ethereal mist. From above, and from the deep roots below, countless threads of light, far thicker and more powerful than anything Elara had yet seen, converged. They pulsed with vibrant colors: ruby reds, sapphire blues, emerald greens, golden yellows, weaving in and out of each other, forming an immense, ever-shifting tapestry of pure energy. At the center of this chamber, suspended in the air, was a colossal, crystalline structure that spun slowly, catching and refracting the threads of light. It hummed with a deep, resonant tone that filled Elara's entire being, a sound that felt like the very heartbeat of the world. "This is the Grand Loom," Eliana declared, its voice echoing with reverence. "Here, the major threads of existence are woven. The flow of rivers, the cycle of seasons, the migration of creatures, the growth of forests, the very balance of light and shadow, all are maintained through these fundamental threads." Elara gazed in awe, feeling overwhelmed by the sheer scale of it. She could perceive flickers of discord even here, subtle blurs in the vibrant tapestry, faint, off-key notes in the overwhelming symphony. "The discord you sense is precisely why you are here, Elara," Eliana continued, sensing her thoughts. "For centuries, the song has been maintained by the weavers, spirits like myself, bound to the great tree. But a great discord has begun to spread, a pervasive disharmony that weakens the threads faster than we can mend them. It is subtle, insidious, and its source remains hidden. We need a listener, one connected to the outer world, to truly understand its nature and help mend it." Elara felt a sudden weight of responsibility. "But I'm just a girl. How can I mend something so vast?" Eliana turned its luminous gaze upon her. "You are not just a girl, Elara. You are the echo of an ancient promise, a bridge between worlds. The Whispering chose you. Your unique connection allows you to interact with the threads in a way we, who are bound to the loom, cannot. We can maintain, but you can revive." Eliana then guided her through other chambers, each more wondrous than the last. There was the Chamber of Whispers, where the thoughts and intentions of all sentient beings were woven into the collective consciousness, a place of soft, shimmering clouds of light that coalesced and dissipated. Here, Elara learned to distinguish the subtle threads of joy from sorrow, hope from despair, and how these emotions too contributed to the world's overall harmony. She practiced mending small, tangled threads of misunderstanding between distant communities, feeling a faint warmth spread across the land as harmony was restored. Then came the Chamber of Dreams, a vast open space where the ceiling was a swirling vortex of starlight and nebulae, reflected in a shimmering liquid floor. Here, countless iridescent threads, delicate as spider silk, rose from the depths, forming constellations of dreams. Small ethereal beings, made of pure starlight and moonbeams, flitted among them, gently tending to the threads. These were the dream weavers, ancient spirits who guided the flow of inspiration and aspiration. Dreams are the blueprints of tomorrow, the fuel for creation, Eliana explained. When dreams are vibrant, the world is filled with purpose and innovation. When they are stifled or broken, stagnation takes root. Elara watched as one of the dream weavers, a tiny shimmering figure, struggled with a particularly tangled cluster of threads. It was a dream of unity, shared by a scattered people, but it was frayed, almost suffocated by threads of fear and doubt. Elara felt a deep ache in her heart. "May I try?" she asked, feeling a powerful urge to help. Eliana nodded. "Remember your first lesson, Elara. Resonance, not force. Empathy, not control. Connect with the underlying hope of that dream." Elara approached the tangled dream threads. They felt cold and heavy, burdened by the negativity. She closed her eyes, reaching out with her senses. She listened to the faint, struggling hum of the unity dream and the harsh, discordant buzz of the fear and doubt threads. She imagined the vibrant, hopeful essence of the dream, remembering times she had felt unity and belonging. She began to hum, a soft, encouraging melody, pouring her own sense of hope and connection into the song. As she did, the coldness began to recede. The discordant buzz softened, then faded. The dream threads, once tangled and dull, began to shimmer with renewed light. The dreamweaver, sensing the change, joined her, adding its own gentle hum to Elara's. Together, their combined intention and resonance gently loosened the knots. The threads of fear and doubt, rather than being destroyed, were subtly rewoven, transformed into threads of caution and wisdom, strengthening the core dream rather than stifling it. The unity dream pulsed brightly, a new, stronger constellation formed in the chamber of dreams. Elara felt a profound sense of peace and joy, a feeling of contributing to something truly vast and beautiful. The dream weaver, a tiny luminous being, flew to her and brushed her cheek with a delicate starlit wing, a silent gesture of gratitude. Over the next few days, Elara remained within the great tree, under Eliana's patient guidance. She learned to distinguish hundreds of different thread types, from the robust currents of geological stability to the ephemeral strands of individual memories. She discovered that the great tree itself was a conduit, a living amplifier for the world's song, and that by mending threads within its heart, she sent ripples of restoration across the land. She spent hours in the grand loom, learning to interpret the vast tapestry, identifying areas of discord, and practicing her mending touch on ever more complex tangles. She learned that the great discord was not a sudden break, but a slow, gradual decay, like a creeping cold that settled over the world, dimming its vibrancy. It seemed to originate from nowhere and everywhere, a pervasive dullness that was sapping the energy from the threads. Eliana couldn't pinpoint a single source, which made it all the more troubling. One evening, as Elara sat in the root chamber, her mind humming with the day's lessons, Eliana appeared before her, its light shimmering with a new urgency. "Elara, your understanding has grown swiftly. Your touch is true, your heart open. You are ready for the next step." "What is it?" Elara asked, her voice filled with eager anticipation. "The great tree is the heart of the song, but not its entirety. The threads extend far beyond these roots and branches, weaving through every corner of the world. The great discord affects places where our influence cannot easily reach. You must journey beyond, to places where the song is truly faltering." Eliana paused, its luminous gaze thoughtful. "There is a particular discord that has troubled us greatly. Far to the west beyond the Whispering Peaks lies the Sunken Valley. Once it was a place of vibrant life, known for its unique sun-petal blooms that held the very essence of dawn. Now, its song is fading, the blooms are dying, and a pervasive silence has fallen over the valley. Our scrying shows a major thread, a foundational one connected to the valley's lifeblood, is severely frayed, almost severed." Elara felt a thrill of apprehension, mixed with determination. This was a real quest, a significant challenge. "I will go," she said without hesitation. Eliana nodded, a faint light swirling within its form. "To guide you, take this." From its shimmering form, a single, iridescent seed, no larger than Elara's thumb, floated into her outstretched palm. It pulsed with a soft, warm light, humming with a pure, resonant melody the core song of the great tree itself. This is a seed of resonance. It will guide you towards places where the song is strong and warn you when it weakens. It will also help you to attune to the local threads, making your mending touch more potent. Elara clutched the seed carefully. It felt warm and alive in her hand, a tiny beacon of hope. The journey will not be easy, Eliana cautioned. Adiana. The mountains are treacherous, and the sunken valley holds its own mysteries, but the whispering will be your constant companion, and the seed of resonance your compass. Remember what you have learned, Elara. Listen with your heart, mend with your spirit, and never doubt the power of a single true note. Elara looked at the seed of resonance, then up at the towering forms of the roots, the grand loom, and finally, at Eliana, its form shimmering like a promise. She had stepped into a secret world, learned its language, and now, she was being sent forth as its emissary. Her adventure truly had just begun. The melody of the world was waiting, and Elara, the girl who listened, was ready to learn its deepest, most challenging songs. The sunken valley awaited. Unwind. Eliana shimmered, her form coalescing into a more defined, yet still ethereal, presence. The path to the sunken valley is not merely a journey through space, Elara, she said, her voice like wind chimes catching a breeze. It is a journey through the world's very heart, past places where its melody has faltered, and its harmony grown thin. Hold the seed of resonance close. It will be your guide, and your voice. Elara clutched the smooth, worn seed. It pulsed faintly, a soft thrum against her palm as if eager to begin. Eliana gestured, and the massive root door of the grand loom, which had seemed so impossibly distant moments before, shimmered and dissolved, revealing a path woven from moonlight and moss. They stepped out of the hidden sanctuary and into a world that felt both familiar and utterly new. The air, which Elara had thought silent before, now thrummed with 1,000 subtle sounds, the rustle of unseen currents in the air, the deep, slow pulse of the earth beneath her feet, the distant, murmuring song of the stars. It was a cacophony, yet beautiful, a grand, intricate symphony that she was only just beginning to truly hear. Their journey began through the whispering woods, a place of towering, ancient trees whose leaves sang an eternal, gentle lullaby. But even here, Elara could sense imperfections. A gnarled old oak, its bark like ancient armor, emitted a low grating groan beneath its branches, a dissonant bass note in the otherwise serene forest melody. Eliana paused. Listen, Elara, she instructed, her gaze fixed on the oak. That is a melody out of balance. It does not harmonize with its neighbors. It drains the life around it, ever so slowly. Elara focused, the seed of resonance warming in her hand. She closed her eyes, letting her inner ear stretch out, past the visible, past the audible, into the very essence of the tree. She felt its age, its weariness, the deep-seated ache in its roots from countless seasons. It wasn't malice. It was simply pain, a long-held sorrow that had solidified into a sour note. What note would soothe it? Elara whispered, her brow furrowed in concentration. Eliana smiled faintly. Not overpower, Elara, but harmonizing. Find the note that speaks to its truth, not its discord. Elara took a deep breath. She thought of the gentle, flowing melody of the forest, the vibrant green of the moss, the soft touch of the sunlight filtering through the canopy. She imagined a note that was like a comforting embrace, a deep, resonant hum of peace and renewal. Slowly, carefully, she brought the seed of resonance to her lips. It was heavier than she expected, yet perfectly balanced. She didn't blow into it, but rather withought the note, feeling it rise from her heart, through her throat, and into the seed. A soft, clear tone, warm and round like a cello, emanated from the seed. It wasn't loud, but it resonated deeply. It wrapped around the gnarled oak, not clashing with its groan, but weaving into it, a counter-melody that acknowledged its pain while offering solace. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the oak's grating groan softened. The rough edges of its sound smoothed, and a faint, verdant glow pulsed beneath its bark. A tiny new shoot unfurled on one of its ancient branches, a vibrant splash of green against the weathered wood. Elara gasped, lowering the seed. It worked! Every note has a truth, Elara, Eliana said, her eyes shining. Even discord is but a truth twisted. Your task is to untangle it, to remind it of its original pure song. They continued, Elara practicing with the seed. She soothed a stream whose waters gurgled with a fretful, anxious sound, reminding it of its flowing, joyful purpose. She helped a patch of wildflowers, whose colors had grown dull and their scent faint, by playing a bright, hopeful chord that brought back their vibrancy. Each small act was a lesson, building her confidence and deepening her understanding of the world's intricate musical tapestry. The seed of resonance became an extension of her own listening heart, not just an instrument, but a conduit for empathy. As they journeyed deeper, the world began to subtly change. The air grew heavier, the colors muted. The subtle hum of the world, once a rich symphony, began to thin, replaced by an unsettling quietude. This was not the peaceful silence of a deep forest, but an oppressive stillness, as if the very air held its breath. We approach the outer reaches of the sunken valley, Eliana announced, her voice a little more subdued. The silence here is not merely an absence of sound, but an active presence, a void that draws in all melody. Elara felt it. A faint pressure against her eardrums, a sense of emptiness that made her own thoughts feel distant. The seed of resonance, once warm and pulsing, now felt cooler, its hum almost imperceptible. Finally, they stood on the edge of a vast chasm. Below them lay the sunken valley, a sight that stole Elara's breath. It was a landscape of petrified beauty. Towering, skeletal trees, once lush and vibrant, now stood like silent sentinels, their branches frozen mid-gesture. A waterfall, massive and majestic, was utterly still, its cascading waters suspended in mid-air, crystalline and silent. The ground was a mosaic of muted grays and browns, devoid of the vibrant greens and blues Elara had come to associate with a living world. And the silence. It was profound, absolute. It wasn't merely the absence of sound. It was a presence, a cold, heavy blanket that smothered all life, all vibration. Elara felt a shiver run down her spine, a primal fear of such complete stillness. "This is it," Eliana whispered, her voice barely a breath. The heart of the discord. What happened here? Elara asked, her voice sounding unnaturally loud in the oppressive quiet. Eliana's form flickered, as if the silence itself was trying to dim her light. Long ago, in an age before memory, a great cosmic tremor shook the foundations of this world. It unleashed a sound so vast, so chaotic, that it threatened to unravel the very fabric of existence. The ancient guardians, in their wisdom and their fear, sought to contain it. They built a magnificent structure, a beacon of order designed to absorb and neutralize this overwhelming discord. She pointed to the very center of the valley, where a colossal spire rose from the earth. It was made of a material Elara had never seen, a deep, almost liquid black, yet it seemed to absorb all light, making it appear as a whole in reality. It pulsed with an invisible, silent rhythm, drawing everything into itself. "That," Eliana continued, "is the spire of absolution. It fulfilled its purpose, Elara. It silenced the chaotic tremor. But in its perfection, it overcorrected. It did not merely neutralize the discord. It began to absorb all sound, all melody, all vibration. It created an absolute void, a perfect, unchanging silence that stifles all life, all growth, all potential." Elara looked at the spire, a chilling understanding dawning on her. It was a monument to well-intentioned destruction, a solution that had become a problem far greater than the original. She felt the seed of resonance in her hand grow colder still, its inner light almost extinguished by the spire's oppressive presence. How do I fix this?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "You must find the note, Elara," Eliana said, her shimmering form growing slightly dimmer, as if struggling against the spire's influence. "The true note that can resonate not just with the spire's purpose, but with its deepest truth. You cannot fight the silence. You must offer it a melody it cannot refuse, a harmony that reminds it of its original, balanced intention." They descended into the valley. Each step was heavy, the air thick and resistant. The petrified trees loomed, their silent forms like accusing fingers. Elara tried to listen, to hear the world's faint whisper beneath the blanket of silence, but it was like trying to hear a single raindrop in a hurricane. Doubt, cold and insidious, began to creep into her heart. How could one small girl, with one small seed, hope to challenge such an immense ancient force? Eliana, sensing her struggle, placed a translucent hand on Elara's shoulder. Listen, Elara, not with your ears but with your heart. The spire is not empty, it is full of all the sounds it has absorbed. You must find the seed of the original chaotic tremor within its core, and then sing its counter melody, its healing chord. They reached the base of the spire of absolution. It towered above them, an impossible blackness against the muted sky. The air here was utterly devoid of sensation, a perfect vacuum of sound and emotion. Elara felt her own inner melody, her spark of life, dimming, struggling to maintain its light. I cannot go closer, Elara, Eliana said, her voice now a faint echo. My essence is too attuned to pure melody. The spire's anti-resonance would unravel me. You must go alone. Elara felt a pang of fear, but also a surge of determination. She looked at the seed of resonance, now completely inert, a smooth, dark stone in her palm. It felt heavier than ever, the weight of the world's song resting upon her. How will I know the note? She whispered, her own voice sounding hollow and alien. Eliana's form flickered, then solidified for a moment, her eyes shining with unwavering belief. You will not know it with your mind, Elara. You will feel it with your heart. Listen to the silence itself. What does it truly long for? What is its deepest unspoken desire? It is not to be silent, Elara. It is to be whole. With a deep breath, Elara stepped forward, leaving Eliana behind. The spire's surface was smooth and cold, absorbing all light, all warmth. As she approached, a strange sensation washed over her. Not a sound, but a pressure, a vast, silent hum that tried to flatten her senses, to erase her individuality. Her memories felt distant, her emotions muted. It was as if the spire was trying to absorb her very being into its perfect stillness. She stumbled, falling to her knees. The seed of resonance slipped from her grasp, clattering silently against the dark stone. Panic threatened to overwhelm her. She was alone, small, and utterly insignificant against this colossal force. No, a small voice echoed in her mind, a voice that sounded like Eliana's, but also like her own. Listen, Pandionoe. Listen to the silence. Unten, atfai. Elara closed her eyes, forcing herself to breathe, to feel her own heartbeat, however faint. She reached out blindly, for the seed of resonance, finding its familiar shape. She held it tight, pressing it against her chest. She focused, not on the oppressive silence around her, but on the ethos of it, on the spire itself. She tried to imagine its purpose, its history. It was built to contain chaos, to bring order. But in its zeal, it had forgotten the beauty of chaos, the necessity of movement, the joy of a spontaneous note. It was a prison, not just for the chaotic sound it once contained, but for itself. It was trapped in its own perfection. And then, she began to hear it. Not with her ears, but with an inner sense. A faint, distant thrumming, deep within the spire's core. It was the original chaotic tremor, still there, still powerful, but muffled, suffocated, longing to be heard, to be integrated. It wasn't malicious, Elara realized. It was bewildering. It needed to be tamed, yes, but not silenced completely. It needed to be harmonized. And beneath that, a deeper, more profound longing. The spire itself, in its vast, silent perfection, felt a yearning for completion. For the vibrant, flowing melody of the world it had inadvertently suppressed. It was lonely. Elara opened her eyes. Yeah. The seed of resonance in her hand had begun to glow, faintly at first, then with a steady warm pulse. It was responding to her, awakening understanding. What note would heal such a wound? What melody could speak to a silent, lonely perfection? It wasn't a loud note, or a complex one. It was something deeper, more fundamental. It was the note of a belonging. The note that says, you are part of this too. You are not alone. Your purpose is not to silence but to balance. She brought the seed of resonance to her lips. She didn't think of a specific pitch, but of a feeling. A deep, resonant hum of understanding. of compassion, of gentle integration. She breathed into the seed, her own inner melody, strong and clear now, flowing into it. A sound, impossibly soft at first, began to emanate from the seed. It was a sustained, pure tone, a deep, warm hum that seemed to vibrate not just in the air, but in the very fabric of existence. It was the sound of earth, of water, of growing things, of distant starlight. It was the quiet, undeniable pulse of life itself. This note did not clash with the spire's anti-resonance. Instead, it embraced it, flowing into its silent core, filling the void not with noise, but with resonant harmony. The spire seemed to shudder, a tremor running through its obsidian surface. For a moment Ilara feared she had failed, that she had disturbed something ancient and terrible. But then, the blackness of the spire began to shift. Like ice melting or shadows receding, its surface began to lighten. The deep, absorbing black transmuted into a shimmering, iridescent crystal. The spire, once a monument to silence, began to glow with a soft inner light, pulsing in rhythm with Ilara's note. And as the spire transformed, the sunken valley awakened. The suspended waterfall began to flow, not with a roar, but with a gentle musical gurgle, each droplet a tiny chime. The petrified trees softened, their skeletal branches unfurling delicate, emerald leaves, each one singing a soft, rustling melody. Muted grays and browns gave way to vibrant greens, blues, and golds, as dormant seeds burst forth, carpeting the valley floor with a riot of singing wildflowers. The chaotic tremor, once trapped within the spire, was not destroyed. Instead, as the crystal shimmered, Ilara could hear its vast, wild energy being woven into the world's grand symphony, a powerful, untamed bass note that added depth and excitement, no longer discordant but vibrant and alive. The spire of absolution, no longer a prison, became a magnificent beacon of balanced resonance, a crystal tower that hummed with 1,000 integrated melodies, a testament to the harmony of all things, even chaos. Ilara lowered the seed of resonance, tears streaming down her face, tears of pure joy and wonder. The valley was alive, gloriously, vibrantly alive, humming with a chorus of sounds that were both ancient and new. Ileana appeared beside her, her form now radiant, her light blazing. "You did it, Ilara," she whispered, her voice filled with awe. "You found the true note. You healed a wound that spanned ages." Ilara looked at the seed of resonance. It glowed with a soft, steady warmth, its work fulfilled, its purpose understood. It was no longer just a tool, but a symbol of her own inner strength, her capacity to listen, to empathize, and to create harmony. "The world's melody is never truly broken," Ileana continued, her gaze sweeping across the reawakened valley. "It merely forgets itself sometimes, and those who listen, like you, Ilara, are the ones who can remind it of its song." The journey back was filled with lightness and joy. The path that had seemed heavy and muted on the way down now sparkled with life. Ilara saw the oak tree they had helped, its new shoot now a sturdy branch, its groan replaced by a deep, contented hum. The stream flowed with a merry, rushing tune, and the wildflowers danced in the breeze, their colors brighter, their fragrance sweeter than ever. They returned to the grand loom, which welcomed them with a soft, resonant thrum of approval. The shimmering roots pulsed with renewed vigor, and the air within the chamber sang with a richer, more complex harmony. "You have completed your first great song, Ilara," Ileana said, her voice like a full orchestra now, rich and vibrant. "You are no longer just a listener, but a true emissary of resonance. The melody of the world flows through you, and you through it." Ilara looked at her hands, then at the seed of resonance which she still held. It was no longer a simple seed, but a miniature, glowing crystal, pulsing with a gentle internal light. It was a part of her now, a constant reminder of the harmony she had helped restore. "What happens now?" Ilara asked, a mix of satisfaction and wonder in her voice. Ileana smiled, a light that embraced the entire chamber. "Now, Ilara, you carry the world's song within you. You can return to your own world if you wish, and carry this listening heart back with you. Or you can stay, and help us continue to tune the world's grand symphony, finding new melodies that have been lost, new harmonies that need to be woven." Ilara thought of her quiet room, her familiar bed, the everyday sounds she had once taken for granted. She thought of the whispers of the wind, the distant rumble of thunder, the gentle patter of rain, sounds she would now hear with new ears, new understanding. But she also thought of the thrill of discovery, the profound joy of bringing balance, of being a part of something so vast and magical. She looked at Eliana, then at the grand loom, then out towards the shimmering path that led back to her own world. She knew her adventure wasn't truly over, it had merely shifted. She could return home, but she would never be the same. The world she left behind would now resonate with the melodies she had discovered within herself. With a deep, contented sigh, Elara smiled. "I will go home," she said, her voice clear and strong. "But I will listen differently now. I will carry the seed of resonance in my heart, and wherever I go, I will seek out the true notes, the harmonies that bind us all." Eliana nodded, her light seeming to embrace Elara. "Then go, Elara, go, and be the song. For the world is a symphony, and every heart, every whisper, every tiny breath is a note within its boundless, beautiful melody. And you, Elara, the girl who listened, have learned to play the truest note of all." As Eliana spoke, a gentle, swirling light enveloped Elara. She felt a familiar tug, a soft sensation of being lifted and carried, not through space, but through the very fabric of existence. The shimmering roots of the grand loom faded, the radiant form of Eliana dissolved into pure light, and the last thing Elara heard was the magnificent, harmonious hum of the entire world, a lullaby that carried her softly, gently back to her own bed, her own room, where the first rays of dawn were just beginning to paint the sky with streaks of soft, waking light. She opened her eyes. The familiar quilt was tucked around her. The morning light filtered through her curtains. Everything was just as she had left it. But it wasn't. She sat up, a small smile touching her lips. She could hear the quiet hum of her house, the distant chirping of birds, the soft rustle of leaves outside her window. But now, she heard them not as separate sounds, but as interwoven threads in a beautiful, ongoing melody. Her heart felt light, filled with a quiet strength. Reaching under her pillow, her fingers brushed against something smooth and cool. She pulled it out. It was a small polished stone shimmering faintly with an inner light, the seed of resonance, transformed, but undeniably real. Elara held it close, its gentle pulse a comforting rhythm against her palm. She knew she had truly been there, truly learned. The world was indeed a symphony, and she, Elara, the girl who listened, was now a vital part of its most enchanting, most challenging, and most beautiful song. Her adventure was not over. It had simply found its way into the melody of her everyday life, a secret hum of magic that would guide her always. And with a contented sigh, Elara closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the morning song of her world. A world now infinitely richer, infinitely more musical than she had ever dreamed.